This is PNN, Positive News Network, where we are finding hope in every headline.
We don't want to ignore problems. We just want to help you focus on the positive.
Welcome back to our body image series. In our last episode, we talked about the invisible mental weight so many people carry every day, the constant thoughts, the self-talk, and emotional energy that body image can consume. But those thoughts don't always just stay in our minds. Sometimes the hardest part of dealing with our body image isn't what we see in the mirror. It's in the invitations we decline, the memories we never make, and the pieces of life we quietly stop experiencing. Today, we're talking about what happens when our world starts getting smaller. And let's think about why it doesn't have to stay that way.
As we mentioned during the previous video, recording, podcast, whatever, call it what you want. I'm Julie. Hi. I'm bringing the tough questions, the things that I have looked up or perhaps had a conversation with ChatGPT, aka Jarvis, about where I'm just asking these questions of my sweet sister, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Mm-hmm. And she shares fantastic information and helps me out with ways to pull the positive or find the silver lining, which is sometimes difficult. And especially in these circumstances where we're talking about body image, body positivity, things like that. Before we get into these items, I'll just call out that no, I'm not saying that I want to stay large. I'm not saying that I want to stay unhealthy. I'm saying that I want to be able to find the silver lining when some of these things happen. And I want to get to a place where I'm not constantly thinking about my body.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
The food that I'm putting in it. Like, I don't think everybody understands that perspective. No, there are plenty who do, because they're like more, I think we mentioned in the previous one, there are more Americans ever that are obese these days. But I think everybody does not understand that perspective of it. It's really, really difficult to reach a place of positivity and acceptance for yourself when it is so obvious that others don't accept you. And acceptance, no matter how you slice it, acceptance is important. Even if I don't need your validation, and technically I don't need your acceptance, we as humans crave it because acceptance means survival.
Acceptance absolutely means survival for a very, very long time now. If you were not accepted into the tribe, you were booted out and could die on your own. So people tell you all the time, I'm sure, don't worry about what other people think. We do worry about what other people think. It's going to happen. We are considering other people's opinions of us, and it's because ingrained in us is the need to survive, the need to be accepted. So don't hate on yourself if you are worried about what other people think, because that's probably all of us, if not most of us. Most of us, if not all of us, is what I meant to say.
You are correct. So, all right. Well, shall we get into the questions then?
Sure. Let's revisit them.
The things to pull the positive and the silver lining out of.
Full disclosure, Julie had them on the screen, and I started to look at them, and I was like, nope!
Not going to look.
Turn away! I covered my eyes with my long ponytail and said, no!
So we are honoring the things that we said on the previous, which is that I will bring the questions and
put me on the spot.
Be on the spot and answer them cold. So away we go. All right. So how can I find a silver lining around this thought. So physical limitations that quietly shrink your world. All right. It may be subtle at first, avoiding certain activities like swimming, travel worries, being on a plane, having to buy 2 seats maybe, or just having the person who is in your row look at you like you are a large mammoth coming at them with wide eyes. Joint pain. Let's talk about our physical issues, right? Not ours like ours, but physical issues. Fatigue or anxiety about fitting in spaces, such as the airplane seat, or maybe you're trying to ride in the back seat with your grandchild who's in a car seat and you can't exactly fit there very well, so you never get to do that. So it always lands on your husband, who is tall and slim. I may or may not be drawing from actual examples. Over time, life just gets smaller, and it's not because of a lack of will, but because everything takes more effort. So it's more difficult for someone who has these physical limitations, obesity, someone who is just in the obese category, right, may not feel it quite as much. They'll still feel it, but they may not feel it quite as much as someone who is in a morbidly obese category, right? Someone who is in that category who has really perhaps been asked or forced based on weight to buy an additional airplane seat. Or listen, even if you haven't had to buy an additional airplane seat, let me just tell you from experience how mortifying it is to sit down in an airplane seat, try that seatbelt, and realize it's not going to fit around you. So then you have to ask for the extender. And, here's a fun one. You do that, and they say, oh, we're going to have to ask you to move seats. Wait, what? Because I was seated in an exit row, and they can't have anybody who has to use an extender seated in that spot because they might have to help with the airplane, the slides.
And morbidly obese people cannot help people.
No. Well, because, Anyway, I mean, and maybe there's a physical limitation there that would prevent it.
Yes,
for
there
some.
is.
Right.
There
for some.
is.
Not for all, but for some. So, yes. So, help me find a silver lining there, sister, because that all just comes at me like
slap on the face.
Yeah. I mean, like that literally happened to me, the extender thing, and the person looking at me like I just had to stop myself from dropping an F-bomb.
Good editing.
Thank you. Like I was a woolly mammoth walking at him down the aisle. And, that, wow. And then completely ignored me the entire flight when I spoke directly to him. He would not speak to me.
I have a couple of takes on this.
Okay. Do share.
First of all, the first thing that comes to mind is this person was not making direct eye contact because they didn't know how to approach you. Can you imagine being in that position and having to tell the morbidly obese person or the overweight person that you're going to have to move? Like, can you imagine, pardon the pun, the weight of that responsibility of having to say, I'm sorry, because of your size, you're going to have to move. That makes me feel overwhelmed and sad and like tearful to have to say that to someone who I very well know would change their size in a freaking heartbeat if they could do it so easily. But you can't, right? So I will start with that. I will start with, bless their hearts. I know you wanted to punch them in the face. Anyone else who has been in a position like that wanted to punch the person in the face, but can you imagine their discomfort and their sadness whether they have compassion or not, can you imagine the discomfort? We'll just go with that. The discomfort of having to approach someone and say, ma'am, sir, because of your size, you're going to have to move, and embarrassing them in front of the entire flight. Ouch.
Yeah.
On both parts.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing but the biggest amount of compassion for you or any other person in that position. But I also have love and compassion for the person who had to send you that message.
Yeah.
That'd be so hard to do.
Here are your takeaways for today. I want you to consider something that's very simple but incredibly powerful. Think about a young child in your life, a son or a daughter, a niece or a nephew, grandbaby, or even just a little neighbor kiddo who knows you pretty well. When they come running to you to give you a hug, they are not thinking about your size. They're not judging whether your clothes fit a certain way or whether you match some impossible standard. They simply see somebody they love. Somewhere along the way, many of us begin looking at ourselves through a much harsher lens than the people who love us ever do. We start believing that our appearance determines our worth, or whether we belong, or whether we should fully participate in life. But that's not how love sees us. So the Glimmer Challenge this week is to borrow a child's perspective for just a moment. To see yourself as someone worthy of love, connection, laughter, and belonging exactly where you are today. Think of someone who loves you without conditions, a child, a grandbaby, a family member, or even a dear friend. For one moment each day, try seeing yourself through their eyes instead of through the eyes of your inner critic. Then choose one small yes to life. Accept the invitation. Take the picture. Go for the walk. Wear the bikini. Then let yourself be fully present. One small yes has the power to make your world a little bigger. Because when we begin seeing ourselves with that kind of grace, something beautiful happens. Our world doesn't just feel bigger, our hearts do too. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. I bet you're doing better than you think.
If the conversation from this episode felt familiar, you may be wondering, how did I get here? That's exactly where we're headed next. Join us for episode 4, The Story We Tell Ourselves.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you found value in our labor of love. We will be back soon with another video, so turn on those notifications and don't be a stranger. Until then, please remember, it may not always be easy, but you can always choose love.